How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Just Nobody's Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And today we're doing a podcast.
Woo!
So we know the idea of death is really scary, but what if I told you that your brain has the ability to accidentally kill you?
How though?
So back in 1942, there was a guy named Nick Seitzman, and he lived a really good life. He had a really good job. He was really fit. Basically, everything about his life was very successful. But that all changed one day when he went to work on a refrigerator boxcar.
What does that mean?
So that day, Nick went to work, and it was during the summer, so it was really hot. And he worked on a refrigerator boxcar where it held frozen meats and different items. But when Nick was taking inventory of all the items in the refrigerator boxcar, his employees accidentally locked him in without knowing that he was still in there.
Are you kidding me?
So Nick starts freaking out because he realizes that he's locked in a refrigerator and it's starting to get really cold. So he's trying to yell for help, but no one can hear him. Nick realizes that if he doesn't get out of this refrigerator, he'll literally freeze to death. So a couple hours go by and Nick starts to feel like his life is coming to an end. So he gets out a knife and he starts carving a message into the ground. He literally says, "It's so cold. My body is getting numb. If I could go to sleep, these may be my last words."
Dude, that's really sad.
So sadly, the next morning, all the workers went to work and they found Nick's body dead on the ground. But what's crazy is when they found Nick's body, they found that he died of hypothermia. But when they walked into the refrigerator container, it wasn't even cold. The room was literally room temperature, and they found out that the refrigerator container, it wasn't even plugged in. So they found that it's impossible to die from hypothermia if the refrigerator wasn't even plugged in.
Wait, what the heck?
So it literally showed how strong our minds are and what it can do. Nick was able to convince himself that he thought he was freezing to death. And in turn, his body started to feel like it was freezing. This is why if you think negatively, it can literally ruin your life.
Dude, this is crazy how strong the mind is.
Dude, it's exactly why people talk about don't think negatively.
Right.
When everything looks like it could be okay.
Yeah.
Just take it easy, relax, because you can make a situation way worse.
Dude, that's insane. He literally just killed himself from his own thoughts.
Yeah, and that's what's so dangerous about this. And I saw this from a medical director who actually makes content around psychology. And he was saying this is what he presents at all his motivational talks, because this is what registers with people's minds. Realize this is what can cause you, to kill yourself essentially.
Right. It could ruin your life.
It will. It did for Nick, right? It ruined his life. It took his life away.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there, if you're feeling like your life's going not in the right direction, just think, okay, let's pause and just try to think how can we fix this, or what way should we go from here?
Right.
Don't start thinking negatively, because your life will go down really quick.
Dude, that's crazy. It was just overnight that this happened for Nick.
Yeah, it happened a couple hours.
That's crazy.
Because he was thinking so negatively.
Oh, dude, that's really sad.
Also this week, you brought up a lot of great theories about Stranger Things.
Okay, Stranger Things is going crazy right now. It's insane.
It's nice to see, though, that it's one series, right?
Yeah.
That hasn't really faltered in terms of first season was great. Second season was great. Third season is great. Fourth season's even greater.
Right.
It's been progressively getting better every time.
Exactly.
Which is pretty rare to see in shows.
Right. It is pretty rare.
It's tough
sadly.
to do.
It is.
That's why movies, right, have a hard time topping the first one.
Yeah.
Unless you're Top Gun Maverick, which
Top Gun
did better.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for everyone who missed it on TikTok, there's a crazy theory about who a secret villain is in the series.
The little details that they're putting in the show to show the secret villain's crazy.
Right, so we got introduced to a lot of new characters this season, but one character in particular is a little bit suspicious. And we know that the Mind Flayer has used people as spies before. He used Will and he used Billy to be a little bit of a worker for him in the real world. And there's a theory that Vecna is actually doing this again with Miss Kelly, the high school counselor.
Yeah, when you look at the evidence and you put everything out on the table, it looks like she's going to be the villain.
Right, so the set directors have actually come out and said that everything that we see on screen has a purpose and has a meaning. Now, if we look closely at Vecna, he always uses a grandfather clock. Whenever he kills someone, he shows them a grandfather clock and he chimes it. And if you look at Miss Kelly's necklace, she's wearing a necklace that looks like a clock and it's in the shape of a key, which is really weird.
Yeah, the significance behind that is nuts.
And if you look back at the scenes when Max is in her office and when Max is in her house, you really hear a clock ticking in the background. And you don't hear this anywhere else in the show. You just hear it when she's with her.
Yeah.
And then you look at the shape of Miss Kelly's clock in her house, and it's in the shape of a keyhole.
Right.
Basically saying that time is the key.
Yeah.
She is the key to Vecna. And even Caleb McLaughlin said that the one word to describe this season is traitor. Now, nobody would think the high school counselor would be a traitor, but we know that Vecna targets teenagers that have a lot of trauma. So it would make sense that she's the perfect traitor to be giving these kids to Vecna.
A high school counselor deals with a lot of kids that have trauma every day.
Right.
So it makes sense that she would be like the perfect person to use as a spy.
Yeah. It's freaking crazy.
This week on TikTok, I also talked about a crazy theory about time travel and how Stranger Things looks like they're going to go in the direction of time travel for the next volume. As we know that volume 2 is going to be coming out in July 1st. Let's get into it. As we know, Vecna is really obsessed with time. It seems like every character is obsessed with time. It keeps coming up. Clocks are shown everywhere. Whenever Vecna's about to kill someone, the clock presents itself, and it's always ticking when you hear Vecna's, like, when he's about to kill someone. Like, you hear the clock ticking.
Right. It's not even just Vecna's clocks. Like, it seems like clocks are, like, hidden everywhere in the show.
Yeah. So what we see is in the Upside Down, when the older kids go, they realize that the Upside Down is stuck in 1983, where basically that is the same day that Will went missing in season 1. Everything that happens in the Upside Down is continuously happening on the same day because time moves differently in the Upside Down and it's just frozen. And as we know, when Henry Krill was a young boy, who's the young Vecna, he was obsessed with his clocks, as we see how he literally turns back his clock's time as if it's going backwards in time. And that just kind of symbolizes time travel.
Yeah, I mean, it's really saying, like, we're going back in time. Like, he's literally rewinding the clock.
Yeah, and we also see how Vecna's obsessed with Black Widow spiders. And as we know, Black Widow spiders, on the back of them has an hourglass. I mean, you could look at the Marvel Black Widow suit, right? We see the hourglass, the red hourglass.
Yeah.
And it's easy to assume that the hourglass symbolizes time because when I think of an hourglass, I associate it with time because that's how you calculate how long something takes.
Right. And also, when you look at spiders, like the symbolism that they have, right? The web of a spider is like manipulation. And that's exactly what Vecna does, right?
Right.
He goes into people's heads and he manipulates them.
Yeah. And as Daniel was saying, Miss Kelly, the counselor, also has a necklace that has it looks like a key, and it's a clock. But we all see in her office or in her house, I can't remember, that there's a clock on the wall in the shape of a keyhole. And Vecna's grandfather clock has a keyhole in it. So we can assume that maybe the key that she has can fit into the key into the upside down grandfather clock that can, get time moving again so time won't stay still anymore.
Right, because Vecna even says, like, when he's explaining time to 11,
yeah,
he's saying, like, humans are so, like, all about time, and they're just waiting for that moment they die. But he realized that he doesn't have to, and he reversed time.
Right. And he did, technically, because it's stuck in time. The upside down and where he lives is literally frozen in time.
Right. So that means they're going to go back in time through the upside down, and they're going to unlock the time.
Yeah, so time starts moving.
I think it's very possible. Because it's like crazy how many clocks and how much time plays like a role in this season.
Yeah, it's definitely a major theme of the whole show.
So did you know that Vecna has been in every single season since season 1?
What do you mean?
So Vecna was introduced in season 4 and his backstory. And we know that whenever he kills someone, he makes his victim see the grandfather clock and plays like a weird clock chime.
Right.
But there's actually proof that Vecna has been in the show seasons 1 through 4. Because in season 1, when 11 is making the first contact with the Demogorgon, you could hear a clock ticking, basically showing that Vecna is present. And when Will sees the Demogorgon in the middle of the street before he goes missing, you could actually hear a clock chime just like in season 4.
Wait, what the heck?
And in season 2, when Hopper goes into the Mind Flayer tunnel where all the Demodogs are, you could actually hear a clock chime the exact same way it is in season 4. And in season 3, when Billy gets possessed by the Mind Flayer and he's in the Upside Down, you could actually hear the clock chime multiple times. And it's basically showing that Vecna has been present this entire time ever since 11 sent him to the Upside Down.
That's so freaky.
They've been putting this in throughout the entire show.
Yeah, I guess when you really put it together like that, the fact that the sounds of clocks, I never even picked up on that it's been going on since the beginning.
And we know that Vecna, right, when every time you see Vecna, it's basically you're going to hear a clock. And
Right.
it's just showing that he's been present this entire time.
It would make sense especially if 11 pushed him through the portal when, I don't know how old she was, but she was really young.
Yeah. I think she was like 10.
So it makes sense that a couple years later he would be around when Will is in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
So this week on TikTok, I also talked about a crazy theory that I saw on Reddit about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and how Willy Wonka actually handpicked the winner of the golden ticket and the factory way before they even stepped foot onto the factory in terms of like, you know, the big event when they figure out who's going to win.
Yeah, this is actually a good theory.
So if you remember at the beginning of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he literally finds a quarter like in the sewer. Goes into the candy store and he tries to buy candy. And he literally buys a candy bar and he's about to leave the store. But as he's leaving, he realizes that I have one quarter left. I should probably buy something for his grandpa Joe. So he goes up to the counter and the candy store owner literally says to Charlie, like, doesn't even give him a chance to like pick out candy. He just grabs a Wonka bar off the shelf and says, like, buy this one. Here, take this one. And basically forces it onto Charlie. You got to keep in mind, they don't have much money.
Right.
So for the candy store owner to push something onto a kid that doesn't have much money and, like, force him to buy something, I mean, he had to have known that it had the golden ticket.
Yeah, what's kind of weird, too, how, like, the Candyman or Bill was, like, looking at Charlie. Like, he kind of knew, like, something was different about Charlie.
Yeah, and it really showed that Charlie had a good heart. The fact that he wanted to use his last quarter to give candy to his grandpa Joe.
Right.
The theory is that Bill, the Candyman, is actually a worker for Willy Wonka because Bill also stands for William. For short, you would say Bill. And Bill's also short for Willy, I guess, since Willy is short for William. And in the play on Broadway, the actor who plays the Candyman Bill also plays Willy Wonka. So it would make sense. It's basically trying to say that Willy Wonka has been the reason behind all this from the very beginning. Like, he plays multiple roles, and Bill is probably his worker. It would make sense, too, that Willy Wonka wants to find someone close to the factory because Charlie literally lives, like, down the street from the factory, and he has a good heart. So it checks all the boxes for what Willy Wonka's looking for. And when you look at it, Charlie wins the golden ticket the day before the big, you know, reveal with all the kids at the factory.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense how Willy Wonka would have known much about Charlie because back then the newspapers were written the night before and then it would be sent out in the morning. It just wouldn't make sense that all the things got around town in the fast enough rate for them to learn about Charlie the next day.
Yeah, it was really weird how, like, Willy Wonka said, like, oh, I've heard a lot about you. Like, how have you heard a lot about Charlie?
Yeah, so, like, Willy Wonka is saying how, you know, he's screening all the kids. They're all talking, but when Charlie comes, he says, I know a lot about you. And it doesn't really make sense how he would know much about him,
Right.
considering that he just won the day before.
Unless he talked to someone that knows Charlie.
Right. And that's why Bill the Candyman probably works with Willy Wonka, and that's why he picked Charlie.
I mean, this is actually a really heartwarming theory.
Yeah, and I got roasted for saying it was dark. Because let me tell you why I felt it was dark. It's like, if you know the kid's a good person, right? Charlie's a good person and stuff, just give him the factory.
Yeah.
Like, you know that kid Mike TV's is a screw up. You know the other people are screw ups. Don't freaking drown him in a chocolate river, you know?
Yeah, they did go through a lot. Willy Wonka could have just given it to Charlie.
Do you know about the Power Ranger actor who became a serial killer?
What?
So remember the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? I believe it was like during the 1990s. So there was an actor named Skylar Dillon.
Yeah, what did he do?
So back in 2004, Skylar and his wife were trying to buy a yacht. So they were looking through like a magazine and they found an ad for a yacht. So they contact the owner, and the owner was Tom and Jackie Hawk. And they sold their boat because they wanted to get some extra money to be able to like retire and settle down and live closer to their grandson. Tom and Jackie were great people. They lived like very wonderful lives. They were so helpful to their community and all around just wonderful people.
Okay.
So Skylar called Tom and Jackie and said, hey, I'm interested in your boat and I would like to look at it and see if I want to buy it. So they took the boat out to sea and it seemed like Skylar really liked the boat. So when Tom wasn't looking, Skylar knocked out Tom and his wife and tied him up to the anchor of the boat and threw the anchor overboard and basically essentially made them drown.
What?
It's so disgusting. So Skylar literally falsified all the documentations to make it look like it was like a clean sail. And at first the police believed him because Skylar was such a good liar. It was like disgusting what a good liar he was. And he was literally proud of it.
Dude, this is really upsetting.
So the police were looking at the documentation and everything looked legit. except one document. And the one document said that all Tom and Jackie's belonging would now go to Skylar.
What the heck?
Yeah, so the cops are all confused. Like, why would Tom and Jackie leave all their assets to these two strangers that they just met who want to buy their boat when they have kids? Tom and Jackie have 2 sons. It would make no sense for them to leave all their assets to these 2 strangers and not give it to their kids.
Yeah.
So a month goes by of investigation. The cops can't understand what happened to Tom and Jackie. So they literally are interviewing Skylar and they say like, hey, is there any witnesses that can prove your story? And Skylar's like, yeah, my wife was there, my daughter, my friend, the notary was there. I mean, there was a bunch of people. So the cops are like, okay, let's go interview them. They all interview all these different people and all their stories match up. So they're like, okay, well, I guess Skylar's innocent because all the stories are matching up. So at that point, the police were so desperate. They're like, we need to find where Tom and Jackie went. So they go to the media, they go on all the news networks and say, hey, we need help. We don't know where Tom and Jackie Hawk went, and we have to try to find them. So if anybody knows anything, please let us know.
So how did he get caught?
So what I think ends up happening is that the friend that was on the boat that Skylar claims to be his friend actually sold him out and said that Skylar killed him. But in the process of finding out that Skylar killed Tom and Jackie, they found out that Skylar was also responsible for another murder in Mexico where he slit a guy's throat with a knife.
Dude, this guy is disgusting.
Yeah. He's like literally one of the sickest, most disgusting people I've ever heard of. And he literally went to death row and received the death penalty. But due to California's laws, he didn't have to die. So he's just living life in prison forever.
What? Dude, do you know how long I was watching the Power Rangers for? Like, that's crazy.
I think he had like a pretty small part in it. It ends up that the guy, like I was watching interviews of the guy and the guy's like a psychopath. Like they asked him, wow, you really are a good liar. You were able to convince Tom and Jackie that you wanted to buy the boat. And he's like, yeah, yes, I am.
Dude, the fact that he was proud of it is so disgusting.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never heard of someone like proud of their lying and being caught for it.
Yeah.
This is really disturbing. And I hope you guys can understand, just like learn from these situations. If just because you think someone's like a celebrity or like someone's like whoever it may be, you just never know. If you don't know them, you got to be careful.
Right.
So do you know the wholesome Sandlot Theory?
Dude, The Sandlot was my favorite movie growing up.
Yeah, we all love The Sandlot. It was one of the greatest movies. But there's a theory on why Benny and Smalls continued to work in baseball as they got older and they were the most successful.
Wait, why?
So you know at the end of the movie how we see Mr. Myrtle ends up being like a really friendly guy and he takes a huge liking to Benny and Smalls. As we learn that Mr. Myrtle is blind, but he does say that he has a lot of knowledge about baseball and he played with Babe Ruth. But he helps Benny and Smalls, but he tells them, why don't you come by time to time and let's talk baseball?
Yeah.
So the theory is that Mr. Myrtle is actually the reason why Benny and Smalls became so successful. So I saw a Reddit post, and since Mr. Myrtle was blind, it forced Smalls to have to learn how to talk to Mr. Myrtle and describe the game like play by play to him since he couldn't see. So this ended up helping Smalls how to get into sports announcing and what ultimately helped him get to work at Dodger Stadium in the end. And since Mr. Myrtle played in the major leagues and had a lot of knowledge about baseball, he helped Benny hone his skills and become a professional baseball player. And that's why only Benny and Smalls became successful, because Mr. Myrtle only worked with them and helped Benny and Smalls become successful in baseball.
Dude, that actually makes the movie 1,000 times better. How like Mr. Myrtle made them successful.
Yeah, I feel like they should have included that in the story and not just jump to when Benny and Smalls were successful.
Right.
Because it really would have showed like, wow, Mr. Myrtle really played an impact in their life.
But it makes sense though, like the whole way it like played out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a really good theory that is almost like gives a backstory to why, like the continuation of The Sandlot.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh, that's such a feel-good theory.
It's really good. I feel like it makes the movie, like you said, a lot better, and it gives a lot of closure on why Smalls went into sports announcing, because it was kind of random.
Yeah.
Like, why would he go into sports announcing?
Right. Especially because like he was the one who didn't know anything about baseball.
Okay, this next part of the podcast is called Whose Side Are You On? It's where we have a story, a real life story where Leia comes on and tells us about one side, and then there's another side, and we have to figure out if this person's right or if this person's right or if they're both crazy. I mean, let you decide, comment who you think is right. Here comes Leia.
Woo! Leia.
Okay, whose side are you on?
Whose side are you on? My girlfriend keeps texting her ex.
What?
Yep. I, male 21, have been dating my girlfriend, female 21, for 3 years, and it's been great. Before me, she dated another guy for 4 years. Recently, I found out that they've been texting. Nothing bad, just a casual, hey, how are you kind of deal. I told her I didn't like it because he only started texting her right after he broke up with his current girlfriend. When I asked why she never told me, she said, I just didn't think it was a big deal. We got into a huge fight about it. She was saying that he was a huge part of her life, but she eventually agreed not to talk to him anymore. So recently, I did a little bit of snooping. Not okay, I understand that, I feel bad, but I couldn't help myself. And I found out that she texted him on his birthday and told him happy birthday and had a little conversation with him, even though she told me she wouldn't talk to him anymore. I also found out that she had deleted their messages from Twitter, which is weird because she literally never deletes anything. Like, she has DMs and texts from like 2 or 3 years ago from people she isn't friends with. I didn't look on her Snapchat or Instagram because I was using her Apple Watch to read the texts and her laptop to see she deleted the Twitter DMs. I haven't brought it up to her yet, but I'm extremely pissed. She lied about talking to her ex-boyfriend and has deleted their messages, which is suspicious. I know it was wrong to look through her stuff, but I never would have found out the stuff that I did if I hadn't. There could be more that she's hiding that I don't know of. Am I wrong for snooping, or is she more wrong for lying? Whose side are you on?
Whoa. That poor guy.
Oh my gosh.
Poor guy again.
That is so wrong.
Get in here.
So totally wrong.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
It's weird how we've had 2 weeks in a row now where the guy's probably in the right.
Yeah. So I feel like you shouldn't hide anything from your significant other.
I mean, yeah, she hid the fact that she wasn't supposed to be talking to this guy, and she's talking to him behind her boyfriend's back.
I know.
I mean, it's just set up so wrong. Like, come on. She's blatantly lying, and she's trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't delete messages, but
No.
she does his messages.
Yeah. And the guy, like, just got into a breakup, so...
Yeah,
The guy just broke up with, like, his girlfriend, and now he's, like, talking to her.
Right, so he's going back to, like, an easy, like, rebound. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she's around, so I'm gonna hop back.
Dude, that's so messed up.
So bad. I don't even know what to say.
Disgusting.
Okay, I think it is wrong to snoop, right? But once you find something, I think it's a little bit like, oh, who's
Yeah.
right?
Then it's free game. Then it's like, it's hunting season now, girl. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find it. You know, I see one bird out there. I'm going for the whole flock.
Okay. Man, is this happening to you?
Not with me, that's for sure.
You know what's crazy? This happened to me.
Oh.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh no.
For me, right? I was dating this person, and then I had like a friend that was a girl. Like, I was just like friends with her, right? And I would talk to her every now and then, but I had no feelings for her at all. I had a girlfriend, right? And then my girlfriend started to get jealous, so she said stop talking to her. So I said, you know what? Okay, right? But then she was talking to this other guy,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it seemed kind of weird how much they were like talking, right? So I was like, okay, if you're gonna tell me to stop talking to this girl, you better stop talking to this guy. She goes, okay, I won't, right? And then she had like a vacation, and then she would have like no internet, but she wanted to keep like our Snapchat streak. Okay, so she gave me her Snapchat to like keep it going. So I would log into her Snapchat and I would send my like the streaks.
Your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So I logged onto her Snapchat, and it's not snooping because she gave it to me. Okay.
Yeah, true. That's true.
And
yeah.
I saw at the top, it was the guy.
Best friends?
No, it wasn't
Oh.
best friend, but he was like most recent,
Oh dang.
right? So then I'm like, wait a
What?
second, what's going on, right? So then I opened it and I'm looking at all the messages, and she's like sending him snaps that she's like sending to me.
So, like, she'll take a photo of herself
Oh.
for you, and then she clicks your name and his name.
Yeah.
And send it at the same time.
And then I see like conversations, like some parts of the conversation saved, but I can't tell what they're talking about because only some parts are
Yeah.
saved.
Was it any kind of weird stuff?
I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. Right, but-
Dang.
And then I like told her, I was like, why are you like talking to him? She's like, oh, I didn't think you mean like I had to fully stop talking to him.
He was like, what? Half.
What
Yeah,
is
talk.
not
Yeah, half talk.
Half stop talk.
Hey Daniel, can you just like half stop talking to this like girl?
So, like,
you know?
maybe from the hours of 3 to 6, you can talk, but hours from 1 a.m. to
That's
6
what I
a.m.
don't get.
What? What is the
So
have
did
talking?
Did she end up switching her password, or are you able to stay in it?
No, yeah, she switched now.
No.
We're broken
Like
up.
when you guys were when you guys were together. After that, did she keep you logged in, or did she change her password?
No, I could log in whenever I wanted.
Did you
but
see
I
any
never,
messages?
I never did again.
Why?
Well, he didn't have to. He already found evidence.
Yeah.
It's done.
At that point, yeah, no. At that point, I was like, I already like caught her,
Yeah. Once is enough.
but I stayed with her.
What would you do?
Wait, back to the story. We all agree that the guy's in the right.
Yeah.
The girl,
guy.
you're wrong.
Totally.
I'm sorry. I keep saying I'm sorry. I just feel bad for you. How stupid you were.
You snake.
Girl's wrong.
Yeah.
In this case.
Guy's right.
Totally.
Comment who you feel is right and who you feel is wrong. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button and comment what you want us to talk about next week. As you saw throughout this video, a lot of your guys' suggestions were in this video. So make sure you tell us what you want us to talk about next week, and we'll talk about it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow on TikTok, and we'll see you guys next Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
See you on the TikTok.
God bless you guys. See ya.
Love ya.